What's going on off the record, fans? What's today? It's April 22nd. And as always, we go live here at 5 o'clock every day. Weekday it is. Every once in a while I'll do a clip instead if I got something going on. But let's get into the nitty gritty of the news today. So, I hope you guys have heard of Anthony Green. We're going to get into him and some of the musical endeavors that he has and has had. So, Anthony Green, high-flying frontman in his sonic universe. Let's talk about one of the more unique, endless, expressive voices in the alternative music scene. A man who's been everywhere, spiritually, sonically, and emotionally, and somehow always lands right back on stage, barefoot, wide-eyed, and completely himself. I'm talking about Anthony Green. I hope you guys have listened to this guy. Now, if you've been circling the alt-rock, post-hardcore, and indie scene for the last 20 years, you already know Anthony Green as the frontman of Circa Survive. But that's just one thread in a massive, tangled, beautiful tapestry of Anthony Green. This dude is a walking mixtape of chaotic brilliance, and today we're diving headfirst into everything from Circa to Saosin to solo work, side projects, maybe even a little bit about his wild journey as well. So, the birth of a voice. Anthony Green was born in 1982. Great year, same year as me. He's only a month or two older than me. He just had a birthday this last week. And by the early 2000s, he was already making noise, literally. Raised in Pennsylvania, the Doylestown area, Green got into music the way a lot of us do, by screaming into microphones at a basement show and hoping that someone notices. But it wasn't just raw energy that made him stand out. It was that voice of his. A soaring, trembly, elastic falsetto that could break your heart or start a riot demanding on key what you caught him in. So he didn't waste any time getting started either. One of his earliest notable projects was Saosin. So we're gonna touch a little bit on Saosin now. We'll get into Saosin a lot more further in. So before he was known for his swirling ethereal worlds of Circa Survive, Anthony was making waves in the post-hardcore scene as an original frontman of Saosin. This was in 2003. They dropped the legendary Translating the Name EP. This thing, it was five tracks of pure fire and fury. Anthony's vocals had this emotional whiplash to them, like he was always just about to cry or scream or both at the same time. So that EP became a staple in the scene. But here's the twist. Anthony dipped out before Saosin's first full-length album debut. Right when the band was getting traction, Anthony Green left, citing creative differences and feeling loss personally. It's a pattern we'd see again. Anthony Green has always followed the muse, even if it led to chaos. So one of the things I heard in the early 2000s when he started Circa Survive was he was in Saosin. He came back to the Philadelphia area right before they were about to hit a tour and really go at it with this EP. And he ended up jamming with the guys from Circa Survive. I believe it was Colin and maybe the bass player. I'm not quite sure the exact members. I don't think Steven, the drummer, was there. But he loved the music. He really felt the groove of Circa Survive. And I heard that he was sitting in the airport in Dallas, Texas, somewhere in Texas, transitioning to go from there to LA. And he was just thinking about the music, thinking about how he felt working with those guys. And I heard he quit right there, called them, said, hey, I'm leaving the band, went back to LA, grabbed his stuff, and then came back to Philly. Not sure if that's true we'll get a chance to interview him at some point and talk to him a little bit about that little adventure. So, Circa Survive, the spiritual core. So, picture this 2004, emo and post hardcore are evolving in the scene. Everyone's chasing that next sound, and then enters Circa Survive from the Philadelphia area. Anthony links up with Colin, formerly of This Day Forward, the band, and together they formed Circa Survive. This wasn't just a band, it was an entire aesthetic. So, dreamy artwork, poetic lyrics, prog rock riffs, and of course, Anthony Green's voice floating over it like he's some kind of haunted angel. So, their debut, Juturna, in 2005 was mesmerizing. I remember the first time I listened to it. My buddy saw them play at I believe it was either a TLA or the Troc. I think it was the Troc. And he goes, this band got on stage and I couldn't believe this guy's voice. So he told me this guy sings really, really high. He sounds like a female almost. And when he put it on, I thought we were listening to a band with a female singer. I was like, are you going to put the band on? He goes, this is the band. So I remember being blown away by their first album. So Juturna, it was a slow burn of a record, full of cryptic lyrics and lush guitar works. Then came On Letting Go in 2007, arguably one of the most emotionally loaded and cohesive records in the post-hardcore canon. So if you don't believe me, go and listen to In the Morning and Amazing, or the song The Difference Between Medicine, and the song Poison is the Dose. I'm telling you, man, these albums, the first albums they put out were masterpieces. But Circa didn't just ride one sound. They evolved really hard. Blue Sky Noise in 2010 brought in more polish, more examination of the band. It was chaotic, colorful, almost manic in places, mirroring the fact that Anthony himself was struggling with his bipolar disorder and addiction during that time in that album. So let's get on to Demons and Honesty. So here's the thing that makes Anthony Green special. Not just as a singer, but as a person. He never hides. He's been open about his mental health struggles, his addiction, his recovery, his relapses, and everything in between with his story. And it shows in the music. Whether it's Circa Survive or his solo work, he's laying it all out there for the crowd. His honesty is messy, painful, and sometimes hopeful, sometimes not. But it is real. I think that's what people connect with. And it's not just about the notes he hits, it's the fact that you can hear him in every single one of those notes. He just has such a very unique voice. So let's get into side projects and super groups. So if you know Anthony Green, he is never short on being in a band. He's got like 7 or 8 different projects. You didn't think he stopped with just Circa Survive and Saosin, did you? So this man has more side projects than most people have playlists. So let's start with The Sound of Animals Fighting. Yes, that's a real band. It's a weird experimental rock collective with masks, pseudonyms, and no rules. Anthony performs under the alias The Skunk, and their albums are basically progressive rock fever dreams. It's brilliant, it's bizarre, and totally Anthony Green, for sure. And then there's his recent group, LS Dunes, one of his newer ventures. This is like a super group featuring members of My Chemical Romance, Coheed and Cambria, and the band Thursday. I believe it's the guitarist from My Chem, Travis from Coheed and Cambria, and then the bassist and the drummer from Thursday. It's a solid act. Their debut album, Past Lives, came out in 2022, and it's everything you'd expect from that lineup. emotionally charged, sonically sharp, and dripping with nostalgia. I would definitely check this album out. He's also collaborated with Good Old War, which is also a Philly band that is pretty big. They're more in the folk rock acoustic vibe that shows off his softer side of music. His solo work ranges from indie rock to raw, stripped down acoustic confessionals. So if you haven't heard his solo stuff, I would definitely check that. It's very different from Circa Survive. It's very different from all the other projects he has. So the return to Saosin, plot twist, Anthony did return to Saosin in 2016 for the album Along the Shadow. Great album. After 13 years away, it was like a full circle moment for him. And the album, heavy, dark, emotional, and full of classic Anthony Green tension. It didn't feel like a cash grab or a nostalgia trip. It felt earned. It felt like they really thought this out and really put themselves into it. So let's get into Circa Survive's hiatus in the future. In 2022, Circa Survive announced an indefinite hiatus. It wasn't a breakup, just a pause. After almost 2 decades of touring and recording, the band needed space. And Anthony, he's still going. Touring solo, writing music, playing shows with LS Dunes. His most recent solo album, Like Boom, done and would still be in love, are raw and stripped down compared to the other releases and the other bands that he has out. It's less about screaming into the void now with that project and more about telling stories with trembling and acoustic vulnerability. So, what's the legacy of a guy like Anthony Green? He's not the biggest name in the scene. He doesn't chase the charts. But for the people who know, really know, he's one of the most compelling artists of his generation. A poet, a survivor, a madman on stage, and a soul searcher for sure. He's built a universe of music across so many projects, but they all orbit around the same core: honesty, emotional versatility, and unfiltered honesty for sure with all of his projects. Whether he's belting out lyrics with Circa Survive, diving into the chaos of the sounds of animals fighting, or singing with his kids in a solo set, it's all him. And that, more than just a hit single or a radio play, is why he matters. So, if you haven't checked out Anthony Green's music, you're missing out. We're going to get a little bit more into the band Saosin now. So let's rewind back to 2003. We're in Orange County, California, home of palm trees, skate parks. Let's bring up the Saosin website. So this is their website. Now, definitely a California band. So, home to the skate parks and the birthplace of countless bands in Orange County. Saosin was formed by guitarist Bo Burchell, and drummer Alex Rodriguez. Now, I'm an artist with Balger Guitars. Bo actually has all of his guitars made by Balger. He has signature guitars. The baritone that I play out live with Sunblind is actually a Bo signature guitar. Great guitars, great guitarist. So, but pretty soon they brought in guitarist Justin and bassist Zach Kennedy. And here's the twist of fate: Anthony Green as lead singer. Now, Anthony's vocals weren't just good; they were otherworldly, emotional, technical, explosive. When they dropped their EP, Translating the Name, in 2003, it hit like a lightning bolt. Tracks like 7 Years and Third Measurement in C became instant cult classics. No full length, no label yet, just raw energy and internet word of mouth that spread like wildfire. We're talking about MySpace days when everything was viral. 7 Years is definitely one of the biggest known songs with Anthony Green fans. It was one of his first hits. It's a pretty decent song. It's not my favorite by him, but it's definitely a fan favorite of a lot of his followers. So let's talk translating the name for a second, because this EP became legend. It was gritty and melodic and intricate guitar work, and Green's voice piercing through all of that. So Saosin, people were mesmerized with every line, even if they had no clue what the titles meant. So Saosin Saosin leaned into the mystery. Lyrics were abstract. The name Saosin itself comes from a Chinese proverb meaning small heart, or not to hold on to something that will inevitably leave you. So that's deep for a bunch of 20-year-olds from Orange County for sure. So here's where the story takes its turn. Just as the band was heating up, Anthony Green left, as I talked about earlier. Yep, he just walked from what could have been a massive moment. The reason? Creative differences, homesickness, possibly the urge to blaze his own trail. I think that's what Circa Survive was. He went to form that band, and he would go on to become scene royalty. So this created a fork in the road for Saosin for sure. The fans were devastated. Anthony's voice was so distinct that many felt the band couldn't or maybe shouldn't go on without him. But Saosin wasn't done yet. In 2004, entered Cove, a young kid, just 19, who stepped into Anthony Green's shoes. Brave move, honestly. He had big boots to fill. But here's the thing. Cove had his own style. A little smoother, more melodic, but still packed a punch. The band signed to Capitol Records and released their first full-length album in 2006. Saosin. The album was fire. Songs like Voices, You're Not Alone, and It's Better to Learn showcase their refined sound. Clean, powerful, emotionally charged. The record debuted at 22 on the Billboard 200. This was no longer just an underground Orange County band. Saosin was mainstream adjacent without losing their roots at this time. So let's get into their touring and fame. Between 2006 and 2009, Saosin toured nonstop. Warped Tour, Taste of Chaos, international dates. They were on the grind. Cove proved himself night after night. The band got tighter, but as with many stories in their genre, tension started to rise again with the band. Their second album, In Search of Solid Ground, dropped in 2009, and while it had solid moments like Changing, the song On My Own, and the song Alarming Sounds of a Still Small Voice, it didn't quite hit the same emotional high notes as their debut. Critically, it was mixed. Internally, things were brewing with the band. So, in 2010, lead singer Cove was let go. It felt like history was repeating itself. The band went into a kind of hibernation. No new full lengths, no major tours, just radio silence. For years, the fans were left wondering, was that it from the band? Had Saosin played their last chords? Spoiler, not yet. So, fast forward to 2014, out of nowhere, Saosin reunites with Anthony freaking Green. Fans lost their minds. It felt like the prodigal son returning. Their reunion shows were electric. Nostalgia mixed with renewed energy with this band. In 2016, they dropped Along the Shadow, the first full-length Saosin album with Anthony Green. Now, let's be honest. Anthony's voice had matured at this point. Less high-flying falsetto, more depth and control. Tracks like The Silver String and Control and The Urge to Pray hit really hard with that album. It wasn't just a cash grab reunion. It was a real artistic continuation for the band. The chemistry was back, but it was different. It aged like post-hardcore wine. So let's talk about their legacy and their influence. So what's Saosin's legacy? They were one of the first bands to blow up before having a record label in the scene. Thanks to sites like Pure Volume and MySpace, like I said, they were inspired. They inspired countless bands, vocalists, and DIY music dreamers for sure. Whether you prefer the raw chaos of Anthony Green's era, or the polished firepower of Cove's era, or the mature intensity of the reunion they had, one thing's definitely clear: Saosin left their mark, and it never really faded. So that's the story of Saosin, a band with two eras, two voices, one unforgettable sound. From the mythic EPs to the comeback albums, they navigated the chaos of early scene of fame and came out of it with a legacy that still resonates. If you're interested in Saosin, definitely check out what Bo has going on. He owns a studio. He does a lot of producing, a lot of recording of bands you probably do listen to. So you might want to check them out for sure. So, as always, we like to cover local bands that are around this area. That's usually how I do it. I tend to find bands that I'm friends with, people I know. I like to do my friends a little favor, give them shout outs, and let people know what they're about. So this band actually comes from the Lansdale music scene. I know we've talked about the Lansdale music scene quite a bit on this show. If you don't know what the Lansdale scene is, it's I want to say Lansdale is probably about 30 minutes away from me here in the Phoenixville area. Great scene. If you watched episode 2 with Dave Heck, he is the godfather of the Lansdale music scene. If you paid attention last week, a lot of the bands that I covered from the Heading East records are from the Lansdale scene, or they play in the Lansdale scene. We're going to talk today about Stateside, a dynamic band hailing, again, like I said, from Lansdale. If you're not familiar with them yet, by the end of this session, you'll be eager to explore their tunes. So, Stateside is a versatile band that blends. Let's bring their profile up so you guys can check them out. Here we go. So I've played shows with these guys. This is my buddy Lynn on the left, the bass player. Shannon's actually been dating Chris Swanson, who's in 7 different bands in the area, does guitar teching for Say Anything. His band Amora is on Heading East Records, Fred's record label. So let's get into this band. They are awesome live. Let's see what we got. So Stateside is a versatile band that blends an element of alternative, reggae, and pop and rock. So they create this unique sound that resonates with a diverse audience for sure. They formed in the mid-2010s. The band comprised of Ethan on vocals, guitar, Kelvin on drums, Shannon on piano, and Lynn on bass. Their collaborative chemistry is evident in their performance and recordings, offering a fresh take on a genre fusion for sure. So, Stateside's music is a tapestry of that's woven from various genres. Their alternative rock foundation is enriched by reggae rhythms, pop melodies, rock energy. This electric mix results in songs that are both catchy and thought-provoking, appealing to fans across different musical preferences. Each member brings their own influence to the table, contributing to the band's distinctive sound. Now, Lynn, the bass player, is actually in a band called Tacos for Breakfast. My drummer, Drew, is also in Tacos for Breakfast. So I want to say Stateside and Tacos for Breakfast are brother bands of Sunblind. So I definitely feel very connected to this band. We played a number of shows together. Amazing live. So since their inception, Stateside has been active in the local music scene, performing at notable venues such as Underground Arts, Milk Boy in Philly, World Cafe Live. Their live shows are known for their energy and the audience engagement, making each performance a memorable experience. In 2024, they participated in Bucks Mont Bonzero Music Festival. I'm from the area. I don't know what that festival is. Showcasing their talent alongside other local acts. So the synergy between Ethan and Kelvin and Shannon and Lynn is a driving force behind the creative output. Their collaborative approach to songwriting and performance allows them to explore various musical landscapes. This dynamic is not only evident in their music, but it's also in their commitment to evolving as artists. Every time I see them, they're just a lot tighter. They always pop. They're one of those they're one of those unique bands where you see them play at a show. They'll play with punk bands, hardcore bands, whatever, and they don't sound anything like any of the other bands. So as of now, Stateside is actively playing shows. You can check them out on iTunes, on Spotify. I think I actually have a video of them doing a reggae version of, I think it was All the Small Things. It was definitely a Blink-182 song. I'm pretty sure it was All the Small Things. It was awesome. It was a really unique take on a classic emo night song, even though it's punk rock. Great band. So if you haven't listened to them, make sure you go online and check them out. I'll have their link in the bio down below on this video. Again, if you're watching, make sure you comment below. Let us know what bands you want us to cover. Let us know if there's anything out there that we should really dive into and do a special on. And also, if you know any good local musicians that aren't signed, I'd love to cover them. So make sure you reach out, get involved in the off the record community.